Hello everyone. Today we wake up in a house that smells like fresh coffee, sun-drenched and tidy, the way you like it. You stretch. Your slippers are under the bed, just where you left them. The dog's tail thumps the floor rhythmically. A normal Tuesday. And yet, something doesn't feel quite right. It starts with the email. Not a juicy one. Not even from a name you recognize. It's a thread, nested deep in your husband's inbox, that you only opened by mistake while searching for a hotel confirmation. You're not nosy, not usually. But the subject line? Phase 3 execution, May final. That's not a hotel, and that's not a mistake. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Everyone has their own journey, and you don't have to walk it alone. Know that there is always someone who listens and stands with you. You scroll down. He's copied in on every email. He responds promptly, professionally. No indication that these exchanges are anything other than work-related. Until one attachment opens, legal language, bullet points, and a heading that makes your stomach twist. Final marital exit strategy, May 18th draft. That's 4 days from now. You're in it. Not metaphorically, literally, line-itemed. Your name in bold beside joint custody and preliminary agreement, and spousal buyout clause, see line 46. You sit down on the bed, but the bed's too soft. Your pulse is too loud. There's a phrase you once heard. Divorce doesn't start when someone leaves. It starts when someone begins to plan. Well, your husband has been planning for months, maybe longer, and you didn't notice a thing. You've been married 18 years. You've raised 3 kids, run a household, managed work, birthdays, stomach bugs, mortgage payments, thank you notes. You've kept the chaos of family life moving like a conveyor belt at a sushi restaurant. So how does he have a phased plan to exit that conveyor belt without even causing a spill? You shut the laptop and sit there staring at the dresser, the laundry basket, the new shoes he got you just because. You suddenly remember him offering to fold the laundry last night. Unusual. Oddly considerate. Was that guilt or logistics? You go back to the email, click another document. There's a folder of financial summaries, account balances, projected liabilities. One spreadsheet called Post-Divorce Personal Budget, Confidential. You read line by line. $12,500 a month for secondary housing. $3,000 a month for image maintenance. What does that even mean? And under legal, a notation. Retainer secured. You feel heat rise in your neck. A low, primal sound escapes you, somewhere between a laugh and a groan. You're not crying. You're boiling. Then you think of the kids, of the night before. Your daughter asking you about prom dresses. Your son helping her pick a playlist. And your husband, calmly flipping through the TV channels like a man not plotting to leave everything he helped build. Ongoing debates about whether marriage is built on trust or transparency suddenly seem meaningless when you have neither. You go downstairs and pour a glass of water, even though you're not thirsty. The kitchen is clean. His mug is in the sink. There's a note on the counter. Back by 6, traffic might be bad. Want Thai? You stare at the word Thai like it's written in another language. Because here's what you realize. You don't even know what version of your husband is coming home at 6. Will it be the man who brings pad see-ew and kisses you like everything's fine? Or the man who's 4 days away from executing a tactical life pivot that pushes you out of your own home? You think about texting him. Something vague, something baiting, like, do we need to talk? But you stop yourself. This isn't something you confront with emojis and passive-aggressive ellipses. This is war. No, not war. You're not going to let this become war. You need to think, to understand, to gather information. You start with your files, your emails, old tax returns, a drawer of your own, one you haven't opened in months. You begin writing things down, not just what you found, but what you feel. Not to be poetic, just to keep your hands from shaking. The dog lays his head in your lap. You whisper, "Good boy," and realize it's the first true thing you've said all morning. You grab your phone, scroll to your best friend's name, hover, then stop. This can't be gossip. Not yet. Not until you know more. Instead, you call your sister. She's blunt, divorced twice, and never liked your husband. She listens in silence, then says, "Okay, first thing, we lawyer up." "Already?" you whisper. "He's 5 steps ahead," she replies. "You're behind. You don't have time to process. Process later. For now, you play catch up." You write that down too. Process later. There's something oddly empowering about that phrase. Because let's face it, you probably won't survive this if you treat it like heartbreak. This is a financial event, a legal battle, an identity reset, not a sad love song. Just then, the garage door opens. He's early. You close the laptop, toss the phone under a pillow. You smooth your face, step into the hallway. "Hey, babe," he calls out casually. "Dinner okay?" You look at him. Really look. And you see it. The calm of a man whose exit strategy is nearly complete. And it hits you like a punch to the ribs. You smile just barely, nod. "Yeah," you say. "Ty sounds great." He doesn't suspect a thing. Not when he sets the table, humming off key to a playlist you both forgot existed. Not when he hands you the container of green curry and throws in a wink like everything's normal. Not even when you smile and joke, trying to curry favor, a line you barely hear yourself say. He laughs. You chew. You nod at stories you don't follow. He tells you the copier jammed again at work, and you think, you are executing a silent coup and talking about a copier jam. You hold it together until the dishes are done and the lights are low, and he goes to the study for his usual email check. That's when you sneak back to your laptop and do what he probably assumed you never would. Start looking. At first, you're just searching his name, then your name, then both together. It's like opening a crawl space under your house and finding a labyrinth of tunnels you never built. One document leads to another, and soon you're looking at PDFs that were never sent to you, but clearly involve you. And that's when you stumble on a digital folder simply titled Options. Your finger hovers. Click. Inside are subfolders. With children, without children, spousal waivers, financial risk scenarios. It's all there. Worst case projections, tax implications, even timelines, color-coded for clean exits. He's gamed it all out. Not just how to leave you, but how to beat you. And right there in the middle is the first breadcrumb that really matters. A bank account you've never seen. Offshore, Cayman address, opened 6 years ago. 5 million in deposits over time, all quietly tucked away. You whisper, "What in the actual hell?" You want to scream, but the kids are asleep. You want to storm into the study and hurl the laptop at him. But that's too loud, too obvious. So instead, you snap screenshots. Every document, every number. You forward them to your own email, to your sister, to a freshly made Google Drive folder titled Insurance. Then you turn to your own dusty drawers. You've never thought of yourself as the paranoid type. But suddenly, the idea that you haven't been digging enough feels like the real danger. You start with the household files. The fireproof box with passports and warranties. Hidden behind an expired Costco membership card is a sealed envelope labeled Copy Retainer. That's when your stomach turns. You open it. Inside is a letter. From a law firm. One you vaguely remember seeing once on a billboard with an actual gavel in the logo. The retainer fee, paid in full. 6 months ago. You sit on the floor. He did this 6 months ago. When he kissed you on New Year's Eve. When he toasted to another great year. When he posted that picture of you both at the beach with the caption, "Forever." Ongoing debates about whether transparency in marriage is more important than security ring through your head. What's the point of shared finances if they're only partially shared? You find more, a second mailbox key, a second credit card, a stack of Post-it notes with initials and cryptic numbers, and receipts, long, fluttery ones from stores in neighborhoods you've never shopped in. You snap those too. It's not about rage anymore, it's about evidence. You text your sister. "He's hiding more, I'm sure of it." She writes back, "Then dig like you're trying to tunnel out of Alcatraz." So you do, and that's when it happens. You find the second laptop, tucked in his gym bag, sleek, unfamiliar, password protected, of course. But you're no novice. You remember his first car, his dog's name, the street he grew up on. You try combinations until, click, it opens. And you see everything. Accounts under shell companies. Names of consultants. One labeled Clara, who, upon closer look, is not a consultant but an image strategist who seems very interested in his shirts and vacation time. There's a second email, an alias, with a smiling picture of him, alone, at a beach you've never visited. The subject line of the latest email, "Just a little longer now, almost free." You don't cry, you've skipped crying. Instead, you grab a notebook. Write down every alias, transaction, timestamp. You make folders, spreadsheets, backups. You download apps you've never used and encrypt the drive. You're no longer heartbroken, you're assembling a case. Quirky fact? While researching how to extract metadata from PDFs, you accidentally click a Reddit thread titled, "How to Divorce Your Spouse Without Them Noticing Yet." The internet is a weird place, but tonight it's your best friend. You don't sleep, you can't. At 3 a.m., you hear him snoring. Peacefully. Like someone whose worst fear is traffic, not treachery. You stare at the ceiling. Is this what your marriage became? A long-term lease on illusion? You wonder how long he's been acting. Which holidays were fake? Which kisses were calculated? Which bedtime stories with the kids came with a silent exit plan attached? You've asked before, half joking, what he'd do if you disappeared. He'd always say, "I'd crumble." You think about that now. Not because you want revenge, but because it turns out he's fine disappearing you. At sunrise, you walk into the kitchen and make coffee. It's too early for anyone else to be up, but you're wide awake. You turn on your phone and dial a number you haven't called in years, a friend from college, now a high-end family law attorney. She answers with a sleepy, "Who's dead?" You say, "Maybe my marriage." She pauses, then, "Where are you?" "Home." "Alone?" You glance upstairs. "Not for long." She says 2 words that change your day. "Come in." By 9 a.m., you're sitting across from her in a glass office overlooking a city that feels like it belongs to someone stronger than you. But maybe not for long. You hand her a flash drive. She scans through it, eyebrows raising. She doesn't say much. Then, you understand what this is, right? You nod. This is a mapped-out divorce, precision level, like a heist movie. She leans back in her chair, gives a dry chuckle. "And sweetheart," she adds, "you just found the getaway car." You spend the next 48 hours on silent reconnaissance. Phone records, hidden statements, copies of copies, each scrap wedged into manila folders that you slip beneath the spare room mattress like smuggled chocolate in summer camp. You go about routines with mechanical precision. School drop-offs, grocery runs, polite nods to neighbors. All the while, a single thought hums just behind your eyes. Wait for the opening. It arrives on a Thursday night, the children commandeered by a sleepover, and your sister casually offering to keep the dog. The house is unnaturally quiet, the kind of hush that magnifies every clock tick. Your husband steps through the door at 7:03 p.m., briefcase dangling, Bluetooth still in his ear. You turn from the stovetop, wooden spoon in hand, heart vibrating like a snare drum. "Smells great," he says, shrugging off his coat. You answer, "Sit." It comes out steady, almost gentle, and that surprises you. He pauses, detects something flinty in your eyes, then lowers himself to a chair. You place a single manila envelope on the table, the way a dealer lays down an ace. No theatrics, no speech. You just watch him open it. His pupils flick left-right, scanning the pages. The silence is thick enough to spread on toast. He exhales once, a sharp little hiss, then folds his hands. "So," he says, voice level, "I guess you know everything." You shake your head. "Probably only half, but enough." He leans back. "All right, let's have the talk." And here it is, the confrontation you've rehearsed in shower monologues. Only it doesn't detonate, it diffuses. He's calm, almost clinical, like an exec unveiling quarterly earnings. He taps the papers. "These accounts, yes, they exist. They're legal. Separate property from before we married that I reinvested successfully. 700 million successfully, you correct, pronouncing each syllable as if it weighs a pound. A muscle jumps near his jaw. 684, actually. The 700 number includes unrealized gains. The distinction lands like a slap. He's quibbling over 18 million. You drop the spoon into the sink. The clang echoes. "You've lied to me for 18 years. I protected our family," he counters. "Risk management. You always said we should feel secure." "Secure?" You laugh, a brittle glass sound. "I thought a robust college fund was secure, not..." You wave at the papers. "Secret offshore empires." He folds his arms. "If I'd told you, you would have insisted on lifestyle creep. Bigger house, flashier car. You don't get to decide what I would have done with the truth." He exhales through his nose as if centering himself. "Look, we can negotiate. I've set aside a generous settlement." You cut in. "Stop, there's no generosity in hush money." For the first time, his composure slips. Annoyance needles his brow. "Pragmatism, then." A faint hum from the refrigerator fills the pause. Outside, a siren wails 2 streets over, Dopplering into nothing. You step closer. "You built this fortune while I raised kids, ran PTO bake sales, edited your keynote slides at midnight. Every shared victory, every sacrifice, I was there." He doesn't dispute it. Instead, he studies you the way you'd examine a complicated recipe. Note the ingredients, determine yield. Finally, he says, "What do you want exactly?" The question is a trigger. Your mind unspools, images of the kids laughing in the backyard, the mortgage payment stamped paid, the summer road trip playlist you curated. You want the life he is trying to redact. You want the respect. And the attorney's voice echoes, leverage is clarity. So you answer, half, visibility, and a clean narrative for the children. His eyebrow lifts. Half of 700 would destroy the businesses. Markets notice things. Markets can learn to respect mothers, you shoot back. He chuckles, an incredulous puff of air. You've done your homework. You nod once. Due diligence, you know the term. Quirky fact time. You recall an article stating that the skeleton of a blue whale weighs roughly the same as a fully fueled Boeing 77. That's what this fortune feels like in the room. An impossible mass nobody quite knows how to drag out the door without cracking floorboards. He steeples his fingers. We can avoid litigation. I can restructure trusts for the kids. You'll be comfortable. Comfortable? The word tastes metallic. You'd still control everything. That's not comfort, that's dependency by another name. A flicker of irritation. You're emotional. Correct, you say, voice low. Emotions are the alarm system that warns a house is on fire. He sighs, stands, paces once behind the chair. Fine, lawyers it is. Just remember, scorched earth hurts the kids. Ongoing debates about whether staying civil benefits children more than asserting financial fairness will keep therapists busy for decades, you reply. But I'm not the one who dug the moat. That lands. He stops pacing, palms the back of the chair. You're not who I married. You almost smile. Neither are you, apparently. For a moment, you both observe each other like rival fencers awaiting the next lunge. Then he straightens. I'll have my counsel reach out. Mine will be ready. He starts toward the study, stops. For what it's worth, I did love you. Past tense. 3 words swing a wrecking ball through your last fragile illusion, but you keep your voice even. For what it's worth, I loved who you pretended to be. He disappears down the hall. A door clicks shut. The study light glows beneath the threshold. You inhale. Your hands tremble, not from fear, but from the aftershock of finally seeing the monster under the bed and realizing it bleeds like anyone else. You take your phone, send one text to your attorney friend. Bomb dropped. He admits 684M. Prepare for DEFCON 1. She replies with a single missile emoji and the word received. In the kitchen, curry grows cold. You scoop it into the trash, suddenly mindful of waste. Somewhere, a timer dings, an oven you never turned on. How many phantom routines have been ticking while he moved money in shadow? You pour a glass of water, hands steady now, because beneath the raw anger is something startling. Relief. The mask is off. The worst has happened, and you're still standing. Before bed, you type a note to yourself. 700 million isn't just money. It's evidence of entitlement. Use it. You save it in the insurance folder, encrypt, back up. In the silence, you recall another odd fact. In Victorian times, mirrors were covered after a death so souls wouldn't get trapped. You wonder if marriages need mirror-covering moments too, shielding reflection until you decide who survives inside the glass. Upstairs, you slide under the covers on the far edge of the mattress. You listen to the house breathe, to your own heart slowing. And you promise the version of yourself staring into darkness. No more secrets, no more half-lives. Tomorrow, the real game begins. You wake long before the alarm vibrates, brain still running last night's showdown in slow-motion replay. Sunrise spills gold across the ceiling, but you feel like a general staring at the battlefield fog. No time for snooze buttons. Your attorney friend, Mara Hayes, has scheduled an 8 a.m. strategy huddle at her downtown office. Teeth brushed, coffee chugged, kids off to school with lunches that are probably missing napkins. You drive, windows cracked, letting April air slap your cheeks awake. Street vendors set up carts, commuters shoulder past, oblivious to the private war you're about to wage. Up on the 22nd floor, Hayes and Patel sports tinted glass and carpets that hush every footstep. The receptionist ushers you to a conference room where Mara, sleek pixie cut, charcoal suit, espresso in hand, greets you with a conspiratorial smile. Ready to castle the king? She asks, motioning for you to sit. She spreads documents like a magician fanning cards. Engagement letter, confidentiality forms, a checklist titled Immediate Countermeasures. You sign where she taps, ink scratching paper louder than your pulse. Event number 1, filing a temporary restraining order to freeze marital assets before he can shuffle anything else into offshore rabbit holes. Mara flicks a remote, and the wall monitor lights up with a diagram that looks eerily like a subway map. Each color is a shell company, she explains. We follow the tunnels, expose the transfers, corner him at the only exit. Her voice is clinical, but her eyes gleam. This is chess, and you just handed her the queen. You swallow. How long until he feels the clamp? By tomorrow, if the judge approves the ex parte motion. She sips her espresso. Then we move to discovery. Forensic accountant, PI, digital subpoena, the full kitchen sink. You glance at the flowchart where tiny arrows swarm like ants toward a single box labeled Asset Split 50-50. For the first time in days, your lungs expand fully. Quirky fact break. Mara mentions she once hired an expert who compared complex money laundering to a pufferfish. Looks harmless, but one wrong bite and you're paralyzed. Apparently, pufferfish toxin is 200 times deadlier than cyanide. You file that away under life is strange. Returning to reality, you remember you still have a job, your part-time marketing gig for that eco startup. You text your boss, family emergency, may need flexible hours. 3 dots appear, then the reply, take what you need, we'll cover. Relief flickers. Social capital still exists outside your crumbling marriage. Mara slides over a slim silver recorder. Start journaling and recording any interaction that feels strategic. Voice memos, timestamps, screenshots. Courts love contemporaneous notes. The phrase feels heavy, contemporaneous notes, like something archaeologists find centuries later to prove a civilization knew exactly when the volcano rumbled. She swivels the monitor to a blank document headed Proposed Settlement Principles and types. While you dictate shared custody, equal division, transparent trust for college funds, your retention of the family home. Every clause typed is a brick in a wall between you and panic. Then Mara warns, he'll lawyer up harder now. Expect filings from Cranston and Bell. They're Wall Street's favorite raptors. You raise an eyebrow. Raptors, she smirks, talons out, all teeth. Ongoing debates about whether hiring aggressive counsel exacerbates divorce toxicity or simply levels the field drift through your head. You choose to believe fairness sometimes needs sharp elbows. Your phone dings, an email from a name you don't recognize. Clara Jennings, image strategist. Subject, discuss narrative alignment. You show Mara. She arches a brow. He wants brand management for the split. Cute. She adds Clara to the growing witness list. By mid-morning, the conference table is littered with empty pastry boxes and colored sticky notes. Mara's associate, Devesh, pokes his head in. Judge slot at 2 p.m., calendar set. Mara fist pumps with zero irony. You excuse yourself to the restroom. Under bright lights, you study your reflection. Eyes ringed, shoulders squared. You remember a documentary claiming flamingos can only eat with their heads upside down, filtering mud for shrimp. Survival sometimes requires awkward positions, you think, patting concealer under each eye. Back in the room, Mara hands you a slim folder marked Personal Support Team. Inside, referrals for therapists, financial planners, even a career coach. We're not just carving assets, she says, tone gentler. We're rebuilding your future resume. The words tug at something tender. You haven't pictured a future without him orchestrating the music. Now you'll choose your own soundtrack. Noon ticks close. You text your sister an update. She replies with a gif of a knight slaying a dragon and the caption level up. You chuckle. Humor wedges open a crack for light. At 1:45 p.m., you file into family court. Fluorescent bulbs buzz, walls sport inspirational quotes no one believes. Your husband is already seated with 2 attorneys in suits the shade of wet cement. He looks surprised? No, annoyed. You catch the micro-expression when he spots Mara. His jaw flexes. The game just went 3-dimensional. There's no dialogue here, just shuffled papers and whispered sidebars. But the tension feels like a fire alarm on silent mode. The judge signs the freeze order. Bang of the gavel. Assets locked. Your almost ex's lawyer leans toward him, murmuring urgent numbers. He nods once, eyes flat, then glances over. For a split second, you see respect. Or maybe it's the realization that you are no longer the rook. You're a bishop slicing across the board. Outside, crisp wind whips at your coat. Mara hands you a copy of the order. First victory, she declares. Celebrate with something decadent. Chocolate croissant, foot massage, I don't care. Just anchor the win. You laugh, the sound rusty but genuine. I might actually sleep tonight. Do that too. She checks her phone. I'll alert the forensic team. We'll dig deeper than a badger on espresso. You part ways on the plaza, city noise swirling. Cars honk, pigeons hop. Someone's busking, Here Comes the Sun, on an out-of-tune guitar. And for the first time since the email bomb, you believe the sun will come. You take out your phone, open the voice memo app Mara installed, and record. Day 1 of counteroffensive. Assets frozen. He looked rattled. I felt tall. You save it under Mirror Uncovered, your private codename for this chapter. Driving home, you roll the windows down wider, let spring air roar through, and belt along to a song you liked in college. Nobody can hear you, and it's gloriously out of key. At a red light, you glance in the rearview mirror. Your reflection is still ringed, still tired, but your eyes are bright with something fierce. You remember the pufferfish fact, dangerous if underestimated, and you whisper, half laughing, "Blow up, little fish, show 'em your spines." Sunday arrives wrapped in deceptive calm. Blue sky, birds over-chirping, the kind of morning Hallmark would monetize. You've agreed to host family dinner, not because you crave togetherness, but because controlling home field advantage feels smarter than letting rumors simmer off-site. By noon, the roast is in the oven, the table set with inherited china you once saved for graduations. Today, it doubles as protective armor. First to appear is your mother, cardigan buttoned wrong, toting a casserole whose contents remain a mystery even to her. She hugs you too tightly, whispers, "Your sister filled me in," then steps back, eyes misting with a weaponized sympathy. You breathe through it. Inhale sage, exhale pity. The doorbell rings again. Your in-laws. Your father-in-law strides in carrying an artisanal pie and the gravitas of a retired colonel. Your mother-in-law follows, perfume translating roughly to, "We don't take sides, but secretly we do." They act breezy, but their glances search for fractures in the drywall, as if money secrets leave visible cracks. Minutes later, the kids arrive in separate cars. Two college age, one freshly 20, and convinced adulthood is a TED Talk waiting to happen. They know something's off. Siblings have their own radar. Your eldest hugs you long enough for a silent Morse code. "Tell me when ready." You nod, file that promise for later. The final guest is, of course, your husband, punctual and bearing an orchid centerpiece so exotic it looks stolen from an alien rainforest. He sets it down, kisses air near your cheek. The move is so performative you almost forget it used to feel genuine. Dinner launches like any other. Compliments about the roast, a joke about traffic, clinking cutlery. But tension crackles underneath, a live wire disguised as polite conversation. You can taste the static more than the gravy. Halfway through potatoes, your sister dives first. "So," she says brightly, "anyone been offshore lately?" Fork pauses all around. Your husband's spoon hovers mid-air. Your father-in-law clears his throat. Your mother whispers your sister's name in a tone usually reserved for toddlers playing with outlets. You dab your napkin. Let's keep geography light for starters. The room exhales, but the truce lasts seconds. Your middle child, always the analyst, looks from you to their father. Mom froze mutual funds on Friday. Dad muttered something about liquidity this morning. I'm not an econ major, but your husband sets down his glass. Families should discuss these things privately, not over mashed potatoes. Privacy got us here, you reply, level. Transparency might get us out. He opens his mouth. Your mother-in-law jumps in. Sweetheart, perhaps you both need counseling. Divorce is so, well, permanent. Here it is, the choosing of sides. Lines drawn with awkward smiles and gravy ladles. Your mother squares her shoulders. Permanent is sometimes safer than limbo. My generation stayed even when staying hurt. Colonel father-in-law lifts a brow. Honor often means endurance. Ongoing debates about whether longevity alone validates a marriage miss the point that happiness isn't measured in anniversaries. You counter before you can stop. Words land heavy. Silverware taps porcelain like subdued applause. The youngest, trying to lighten mood, supplies a quirky fact. Did you know wombats poop cubes so it won't roll off their territory markers? Nature literally shapes its boundaries. The table pauses, then laughter erupts. A weird, grateful release. Boundaries, cubes, topic on point. As amusement fades, your eldest leans forward. We love you both, but secrets rot families. Dad, why didn't you tell us about the money? He looks at the kids, jaw tense. Because I wanted you normal, not trust fund casualties. Your sister snorts. Saving them from privilege by stashing hundreds of millions? Next, you'll say you skip dessert to stay humble. He bristles. You're not part of this marriage. She fires back. Good thing you'd be broke if I were. Voices layer, crescendos crash. You catch fragments. Legacy planning, moral duty, emotional labor. The roast cools. The orchid sheds a petal like a cinematic tear. You stand, palms flat on the table, no dramatic bang, just pressure enough to reclaim silence. Stop. Every eye swivels. This isn't a referendum on who's right tonight. It's about honesty moving forward. We decide, each of us, what relationship survives. Not just the marriage, all of it. You look at your kids. You deserve the truth. Your dad and I are separating. Lawyers are involved. We're sorting finances ethically, but emotions will be messy. That mess belongs to us adults, not your shoulders. Your husband studies you. Tension, admiration, maybe regret. He nods to the children. I'm sorry for blindsiding everyone. I'll answer whatever questions you have, in appropriate settings. Your mother-in-law breathes relief. Colonel father-in-law nods curt approval of dignity preserved. But the real verdict lies with the kids. The analyst asks, does this change college plans? The youngest, who keeps the dog? The eldest, voice soft, asks, will holidays still be home? No house gets sold before finals, you promise. And the dog stays with whoever has the bigger yard, probably me. You offer a gentle smile. As for holidays, we'll rewrite traditions if needed. Love isn't tied to floor plans. Conversation pivots to logistics, tuition schedules, visitation ideas, whether dad's secret fortune means mom finally gets that solar roof. It's raw but constructive, an unexpected workshop on future-proofing. Your sister clinks her glass. 2 redrawn maps. Everyone sips. Even your husband manages half a smile. Dessert appears. Mystery casserole unveiled as peach cobbler, sort of. As you scoop servings, your eldest whispers, you okay? You reply, I'm learning cube-shaped resilience. And they grin through moist eyes. When plates are cleared, guests filter out in clusters. Parents hugging grandkids, sister collecting the dog. In-laws exchanging hushed counsel. On the porch, your husband lingers. Streetlights halo his silhouette. This was inevitable, he murmurs. You meet his gaze. So is sunrise doesn't make it painless. He pockets his keys. I'll have my counsel propose a mediation calendar. You nod. Words unsaid fuzz the air, but you both step back from adding new injuries. He heads to his car. Taillights bleed red down the street. Inside, you lock up, toes aching. The house smells of cinnamon and truce. You collapse onto the sofa, voicemail app open. You record. Sunday dinner, fault lines exposed, but kids still laugh. First victory, truth around the table. Save under mirror uncovered. Later, in bed, exhaustion drapes your limbs like wet laundry. Yet peace sprouts tiny shoots. Family didn't shatter, it flexed. You think of the wombat cubes. Odd, durable, purposeful. Boundary set. You whisper to the ceiling, may our new shape hold. Eyes drift shut, and for the first time all week, dreams stay free of spreadsheets. You wake to sunlight leaking through half-drawn blinds, painting gold stripes across your duvet. The smell of toast drifts in from the kitchen. Your middle child must be up early, raiding the bread drawer like it's exam week again. You lie still for a beat longer than usual. Something inside you, perhaps the buried part that once panicked at any shift, now whispers instead, this is manageable. Still, when you check your phone, that calm fractures. 4 new voicemails, 1 from Mara, 1 from an unknown number, and 2 from your husband. You skip his and call Mara first. She answers before the first ring finishes, her voice brisk, caffeinated. We've got movement. Cranston and Bell just filed a counter motion to lift the asset freeze. They're arguing you acted in bad faith. You sit up too fast, the blanket twisting around your legs. Bad faith, I didn't move anything, he did. She's already reading from a document. They're spinning it as preemptive aggression, claiming you intended to sabotage a planned charitable trust, not protect marital assets. Total fiction, but they'll try to stall. You exhale through your teeth. What's our next move? Get ahead. Forensic review escalates today. Also, her voice softens. The PI found something. About Clara Jennings, the image consultant. Here it is, event number 2, the reveal. You press the phone tighter to your ear. Go on. She's not just consulting. She's his ex from 15 years ago. They dated during his hedge fund years. And brace yourself, her name is attached to 3 shell companies tied to the Cayman account. Your stomach flips. He's laundering assets through a woman he used to date? Allegedly, she replies, with the professional calm of a doctor breaking bad news. But yes, she was made manager of an LLC last year. Paper trail's clear. You nod slowly, as if that'll steady you. How long have you known? About a week. We wanted to verify before shaking the tree. Ongoing debates about whether spouses have the right to hire private investigators are still swirling in your brain when you finally hang up. In your case, guilt isn't your concern. Clarity is. You needed truth more than you needed peace. You sit with the news. It's not even about jealousy. It's about betrayal that mutated, calcified, and cloaked itself in spreadsheets and meetings. A man willing to dismantle your financial safety net just to keep secrets buried. And worse, to do it with help from a woman he once promised something to. How many other promises has he recycled? You leave the house before your kids are fully awake. You need movement, air, a horizon wider than your backyard. The park is quiet, mostly dog walkers and retirees. You grab a coffee from the kiosk with the cheery barista who always draws foam hearts, even for strangers with storm clouds behind their eyes. Benches line the duck pond, and you sit under a willow tree, fingers wrapped around the warm paper cup. A jogger's terrier bounds by, trailing a leash and a frantic owner. You smile. Life still has punchlines. You remember the time your husband forgot your anniversary, but sent roses to a client with the same name? When confronted, he'd shrugged, "I do too many nice things. They blur." At the time, you laughed it off. Now it feels like early-stage corrosion. Your phone buzzes again, text from Mara, sending over documents for signature. Also, TV interview tonight. Channel 8 wants a spouse's voice. You in? You stare at it. TV? A literal spotlight on your cracked life? Every instinct screams, no. But another voice, the newer, steelier one, says maybe. You reply, what time? What angle? 7 p.m. Live. Topic: hidden wealth in modern marriages. They want authenticity. You don't have to name names, just speak your truth. Speak your truth. The phrase sounds as Instagram as it does courtroom, but you text, okay, I'll do it. You spend the afternoon prepping. Hair, makeup, outfit that says, competent but not cold. Your sister comes over with moral support and snacks you can't eat. Want a fun fact? She asks, waving carrot sticks. Turns out sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins, over 40 minutes. You blink. That's wildly unrelated. She shrugs. Sloths conserve energy. Maybe that's your new mascot. You're conserving emotional energy for court. You laugh despite yourself. Fine, I'll channel my inner sloth. The news station is smaller than expected, tucked in an office park behind a strip mall. They mic you up, powder your cheeks, and cue you into a modest studio with LED panels and a friendly host named Dana. She offers water and a warm smile. We just want a real story, okay? No pressure. But there is pressure. The red light goes on. Dana begins. Tonight, we're exploring the rising phenomenon of spouses discovering hidden wealth during divorce. Joining us is someone living that exact experience. She gestures to you. Camera zooms. Time slows. You take a breath. Hi, I'm not naming names tonight, but I'm here because after decades of marriage, I discovered a fortune had been growing in my husband's name. Without discussion, without planning, without me. Dana leans in. How did you react? You pause. Not for drama, but because you want it right. Honestly, first with confusion, then fear, then I started asking questions, which some people don't like. But I realized something. Asking questions doesn't make you the villain. Hiding answers does. You speak for 7 minutes. About fairness, transparency, and emotional labor. About how society still expects women to be financial passengers. About how long marriages can create dangerous assumptions. That love and loyalty equal access and equity. When the interview ends, Dana whispers, "You just spoke for so many." You nod, remove the mic, and step outside into the dark. Your phone's already pinging. Friends, acquaintances, even 2 old coworkers. You were amazing. This is what truth sounds like. Can we get coffee sometime? I'm going through something similar. You reply to one, absolutely, we should talk. The ride home feels lighter. Your inbox feels heavier. But now, so does your spine, in the best way. You're standing taller. You record one more voice memo. TV interview aired. I didn't name him, but I named myself. It felt like permission. Not to hurt, but to exist boldly. Save under mirror uncovered. At home, your eldest greets you with a grin. So, are moms famous now? You laugh, only for a night. But seriously, they say, I've never seen you look that sure of yourself. You blink, smile back. Me neither. Tuesday crashes in like a cymbal. Loud, metallic, impossible to ignore. At 6:14 a.m., your phone vibrates with an encrypted push alert from the forensic team. Metadata flag, spouse laptop syncing to remote server nightly at 03:00. Translation: while you dream of normalcy, his machine sleepwalks secrets into the cloud. You're already dressed, couldn't sleep. And by 7:00, you're perched in Mara's office with a vanilla latte that tastes like Resolve. She drags a folder across the table, flips it open, and reveals your husband's perfect plan reversed like a mirror image. At the top, screenshots of his Phase 3 execution timeline, annotated now with red arrows that show where you've jammed the gears: court order, media narrative, forensic locks. Each annotation bears a timestamp and a tiny speaker icon, your recordings. Every whispered phone call he made from the study, every Zoom with Clara, every muttered strategy session he held while thinking you were downstairs folding laundry. You captured them on the slim silver recorder Mara gave you, slipping it under the desk each night like contraband. Here's the beauty, Mara says, pointing at a line reading Acid Migration Week 4. Trigger charitable trust. He can't trigger the trust without violating yesterday's freeze, and if he tries, we have these calls. She double taps the speaker icon. A tinny version of your husband mutters, "If the freeze holds, we'll just reroute through the Antilles conduit." His voice is crisp, intent. Yours is calm in the playback, proof you didn't provoke. Your stomach knots, but the knot feels purposeful, like a sailor tying anchor. You nod. What's next? Mara's grin is half Cheshire, half shark. We present him with a choice. Either enter collaborative mediation on our terms, or we release discovery showing potential regulatory violations. Regulators hate misreported charitable vehicles. She shrugs. Public companies hate them more. Event of the day, the pivot proposal. A scheduled sit-down, just the four of you. You, Mara, your husband, and his lead counsel. Inside a neutral mediation suite that smells of lemon disinfectant and quiet dread. You arrive 5 minutes early, set your phone to record on airplane mode, slip its screen down. He arrives right on the hour, eyes narrowed, collar perfect. His lawyer, a tall woman whose heels click Morse code on marble, opens with a silky greeting, but you sense impatience under her veneer. They know the dam is cracked. Mara starts. We believe an efficient path exists, shared custody, equal split, structured payout that doesn't spook the markets. But there's a condition. Full forensic transparency, subpoena compliance, and written assurance that no funds move without joint signature until decree final. She slides a draft 2-page term sheet across the mahogany. Your husband skims it, jawline flexing. 50% of premarital assets? That's fantasy. It's equity, you answer steady. Not fantasy. He meets your gaze, something flickering. Annoyance? Respect? Hard to tell. Why weaponize recordings? We could have talked. You inhale slowly. Talk requires truth. You outsourced yours. The lawyer cuts in. Our client disputes the context. Mara raises a palm. Dispute away. We'll attach full clips as exhibits A through K. Silence hums, thick as humidity. Outside, a leaf blower drones like distant artillery. Your husband taps the table once, twice, then exhales. What leverage do you think recordings give? They're marital property. We can file joint privilege. Mara smiles. True, but regulators aren't bound by privilege when fraud's implied. And the SEC recently settled a case where secret charitable conduits triggered 8-figure fines. She lets the numbers dangle like a noose. Quirky fact break. A tension diffuser you blurt before sanity can stop you. Did you know octopuses carry seashells as shields when they cross open sand? They weaponize their environment. Feels relatable. 3 faces stare. Mara smirks. Your husband's lawyer blinks, but the analogy sticks, because minutes later he says, "You're wielding shells." You shrug. Adapt or be eaten, or B. He leans back, laces fingers. Suppose I agree to 50%. What about board seats tied to my shares? You can't hold those. True, Mara says. We value them for cash equivalency. You keep the titles. She gets offsetting liquid equity. You add, and the family house free and clear, plus the lake cabin. You watch calculation flit behind his eyes. He loves that cabin more than boardrooms. Ongoing debates about whether post-divorce co-parenting is easier when parents retain a shared vacation property flash through your mind, but you dismiss the sentimental angle. Property is leverage, not nostalgia. He counters, cabin stays joint, kids legacy. I'll fund upkeep. You hold exclusive summer use. You weigh it, pragmatic, maybe even generous. You nod. His lawyer scribbles, murmurs numbers. After an hour, the bones of an agreement emerge. Equal division of assets after independent valuation, structured liquidity to prevent market shocks, joint veto on charitable disbursements, kids' trusts overseen by a neutral fiduciary. Cabin summer's yours, winter holidays his. You break for coffee. In the hallway, he catches you alone by the water cooler, paper cup in each hand. You're formidable, he says quietly. You sip, consider. I was always formidable, you just kept me busy. A tiny laugh escapes him, genuine, rueful. I thought secrets kept everyone safe. Secrets choke people, you say. Truth is oxygen, even if it stings. He nods once, looks away. Clara's out, he says. I've already parted ways. You study him. Is that confession or strategy? Both. He holds your gaze. I miscalculated. It's not an apology, but it's the nearest he's given. You tuck it away, not forgiveness, but data. Back in the room, term sheets finalize, signatures provisional on valuation. Mediation ends without handshakes, too early for symbolism. But the air feels lighter. You message Mara later. Is this real? She replies with a gif of a goalpost and the caption, field goal, not touchdown. Keep running. Evening settles. You pick up Thai takeout, comfort cycle. But now it's your choice, not his token peace offering. At home, kids lounge in hoodies, debating new streaming picks. You deliver the update in plain language. Progress, no final decree, but the horizon is clearing. They absorb, nod, ask practical things, college fees, summer jobs. You promise answers soon. After they retreat upstairs, you walk onto the back deck. Night smells of cut grass. You open the voice memo app. Turned tables today, you murmur. He saw the strength and didn't flinch. Maybe that's closure, maybe just tactics. But leverage is ours now. You save it under Mirror Uncovered and smile at the string of entries. A breadcrumb trail out of a dark wood. Inside you feed the dog, stack dishes, and allow yourself a 10-second victory dance in the empty kitchen. Hips loose, shoulders rolling. No music needed, the silence sings. Before bed, another text pings. Your mother sharing an article about cube-pooping wombats. You laugh, text back a sloth gif, climb into sheets smelling of lavender. As you dim the lamp, you whisper to the dark. Shell carried, crossing sand. And somewhere across town, a man who once mapped your exit plan is redrawing his own. You wake up with the sharp edge of clarity pressing against your temples. It isn't a headache, it's awareness. A strange, cool awareness that things are shifting again. Not because of something he's done, but because of what you're about to do. Today, you meet with the estate planner, a new one, yours. You walk into the boutique firm, wearing the blazer your daughter said made you look like someone about to launch a private equity fund and a side hustle in vengeance. You liked the image enough to keep it. The receptionist greets you by name. Ms. Hartman's ready for you. 4th floor, corner office. Mara introduced you to Ava Hartman 2 weeks ago, calling her the legal architect you need to build what comes next. And now you see why. Ava stands when you enter, offers a firm handshake and a steel blue folder with your name printed in serif font. Clean, elegant, like a blueprint. Estate planning, she begins, isn't about death. It's about choice, distribution, protection, autonomy. It says, I get the final word. You nod. I'm ready for that. Event of the day, the future draft. Not the past clawed back, not the settlement hard won, but the draft of a future you write in bold ink. Your assets, your accounts, your trust, created in your name for your children, with instructions that don't require anyone else's permission. Together, you review documents. Some legalese makes your eyes glaze, but Ava translates. This clause ensures that if your ex attempts to contest any trust action in the future, he forfeits all residual claims. You smile at that one. She asks about your kids, ages, personalities, their understanding of money. You tell her about your eldest who's planning to intern with a nonprofit this summer. About your son who buys stocks with birthday money and watches financial literacy TikToks like, it's a hobby. About your youngest who thinks trust fund is just a cooler way to say piggy bank. You say, I want them to know security, not entitlement. She nods. Then we build in staggered distributions, philanthropic incentives, and mandatory financial literacy milestones. You sign the initial draft, just a scribble on a line, but it feels like you've drawn a flag in new soil. The strange part? You don't cry. You thought you would, reaching this point. Instead, you feel clean. Like after a long run in crisp air, lungs burning, feet aching, but alive. Walking out, the spring wind catches your scarf and flips it around your shoulder like punctuation. A pedestrian turns to look, maybe at your expression, which apparently says something like, woman recently uncaged. You don't stop. You have one more place to be. Not court, not your lawyer's office, somewhere stranger. The art gallery, his favorite gallery. It's hosting an exhibit by a contemporary abstract artist you both once loved. A painter whose work, ironically, is all about disintegration and reassembly. You weren't planning to go, but then the press release said, "A study in distortion. What happens when the original intention fractures?" You couldn't resist the metaphor. So you walk in, ticket on your phone, heart wrapped in skepticism. The gallery is airy, humming with whispers. People mill quietly, nodding at canvases in cobalt, graphite, crimson. You recognize the brushwork, sharp slashes over muted backdrops, controlled chaos. On the far wall, a piece catches your eye. A swirl of steel gray over a field of white. Thin lines weave through the center, like sutures. The card reads, "Reconstructed Silence." And there, standing 6 feet to the left, arms crossed, is your husband. Not expecting him would be foolish. You both loved this artist. Still, the sight of him sends a pulse through your fingertips. He sees you, doesn't flinch. You nod, barely. He nods back. Neither of you moves closer. You study the painting, then walk away. Outside, the street smells of espresso and wet asphalt. You keep walking until your phone buzzes again. Your sister. She's at the house feeding your dog and wants to know if the heirloom bookshelf situation is going to be a battle. You laugh out loud. The bookshelf, of course. Quirky fact, in 1998, a German couple spent 6 months mediating ownership of a bonsai tree in their divorce. 6 months. Over a 4-inch tree. You reply, "He can have the shelf." It always tilted left anyway. Because here's what you're learning. Some battles aren't about fairness. They're about freedom. And sometimes you give things away just to see how little they weighed. You take a detour to your favorite bookstore. Yes, the one you used to visit on your solo Saturdays before he started calling those wasted hours. You wander in, fingers brushing spines. You buy one new novel, one used memoir, and a cheeky book on estate planning that promises to make it less grim and more glam. At checkout, the clerk says, "You look like someone who just signed something important." You grin. "I did, my name, in full, for myself." Ongoing debates about whether post-divorce financial independence equals empowerment, or simply pressure dressed as choice hover faintly in your mind. But today, you're choosing to frame it as liberation, not burden. You drive home as twilight wraps around the windshield, that warm kind of blue that tells you the day isn't over, just softening. The kids are in the living room when you arrive, a blanket fort resurrected from their childhood days, now draped between 2 chairs. They offer you guest access. And for the first time in weeks, you crawl in. Inside the fort, the world narrows to pillows, fairy lights, and the smell of buttered popcorn. You talk about their favorite memories from the lake cabin, whether aliens exist, and which of them is going to be in charge of the family empire. You say, "No one's in charge. We build together, from here." Later, you record another voice memo. "Signed the first trust, saw him again, no words exchanged, don't need any. I think we've said everything already." You save it under Mirror Uncovered. Before bed, you pull a photo from your drawer. Your wedding day. You don't rip it up. You don't even hide it. You slide it into a memory box labeled Before, and you add a blank journal on top labeled Next. There's space in the story now, enough room to breathe. The courthouse hallway smells of floor wax and overbrewed coffee when you sign the settlement papers. No cameras, no last-minute fireworks. Just pens scratching, pages sliding, and the unceremonious clunk of a notary's stamp. Your husband sits opposite, suit pristine, eyes unreadable. When the clerk murmurs, "Congratulations, you're officially divorced," it lands somewhere between blessing and autopsy report. Outside, spring rain frets against the windows. Mara tucks copies of the decree into a leather portfolio and hands it to you like a baton. "Funds will clear in 48 hours, she says. "House deed transfers by Friday, cabin title recorded next week." You nod, tension leaking out in a quiet sigh. One event ends, another begins. You walk to the elevator together. He presses the button, then speaks without looking over. "Take care of them. Take care of yourself." His voice is low, almost hoarse. You answer, "Do the same," and step into the car. The doors close. That's it. No cinematic goodbye, just stainless steel and your reflection staring back. A little stunned, a little fierce. In the car, you crack the window for cool air. It smells like wet asphalt and magnolia blooms, new and old at once. You dial your sister. "Signed!" She whoops so loud you have to yank the phone away. "Champagne tonight," she insists. You promise you'll try. At home, the kids are sprawled on the couch streaming an old sitcom. You sit between them, decree clutched like a strange ticket stub. "It's done," you say. They pause the show. Your eldest asks, "How do you feel?" You think for a moment. "Like finishing a marathon I didn't train for. Proud, sore, slightly confused." They laugh, and the sound lifts something off your shoulders. That evening, Mara's wire confirmation arrives. Half the fortune, minus taxes and legal fees, landing in freshly minted accounts under your sole control. The numbers look absurd on the phone screen, digits marching all the way to the right edge. You expected joy, but mostly you feel responsibility. Responsibility leads to action. The next morning, you meet with a financial advisor. Your advisor, not one recommended by anyone else. She listens to your goals: children's education, charitable giving, seed money for that eco-startup you quietly adore. She draws graphs, outlines risk tiers, shows you how money can be stewarded, not just stored. A week later, you sit in a sunlit co-working space, final round interviewing for the role of marketing director at that startup. The CEO, a bright-eyed woman in recycled cotton sneakers, asks what drives you. You answer honestly: sustainability, transparency, and using voice to shift culture. She grins. Welcome aboard. First day on the job, you receive a laptop that isn't tracked by anyone but IT. You log in, set a background photo of the lake cabin at sunrise, and breathe. The workplace hums with energy, whiteboards dense with ideas, potted plants everywhere, the faint buzz of electric scooters charging by the door. You feel 30 again, except now you're unafraid to take up space. Friendship circles morph in tandem. Some couples you once dined with fade away. Apparently, your divorce is contagious energy. Others appear unexpectedly. Claire from PTA invites you for rooftop yoga and confesses her own silent discontent. Miguel from the neighborhood book club drops a casserole and jokes that single parents deserve loyalty points. Even your former college roommate sends a care package stuffed with silly socks and a note. Bravery looks good on you. One Friday night, you host a small gathering. Not a pity party, more a reset celebration. Fairy lights string across the patio. Charcuterie boards bloom with fruit and olives. Laughter climbs the warm dusk. Someone asks, "What's the best trivia you've learned lately?" You deliver your quirky fact. Butterflies in the Amazon sometimes drink turtle tears for sodium. Apparently, even beauty needs salt. The group marvels. A friend quips, "Self-care, but make it weird," and everyone cheers. As summer rolls in, the lake cabin becomes headquarters for rebuilding. You paint bunk beds with the kids, let them design tacky signs like Cabin of Resilience and Dock of No Regrets. On the first clear night, you all sit on the pier, legs dangling, watching meteors streak. Your eldest nudges you. "You're different out here," they say. "Lighter?" You squeeze their hand. Gravity lost some of its grip. Yet reckoning doesn't disappear. It evolves. One afternoon, your ex calls about scheduling winter break. His voice is calmer, almost ordinary. You negotiate destinations, flight logistics. No knives hidden in the dialogue, just co-parenting mechanics. After you hang up, you note the absence of adrenaline. Healing often masquerades as boredom, you realize, and boredom feels fantastic. Therapy sessions continue, solo and with the children. You explore grief, anger, forgiveness. Ongoing debates about whether forgiving a betrayer is necessary for personal peace surface weekly. Your therapist suggests forgiveness is less a gift to him and more a lease cancellation on emotional real estate he's been occupying. You don't sign that lease yet, but you like knowing the paperwork exists. Work, kids, and newfound wealth weave tight. You fund scholarships at the local community college under an anonymous name. Watching opportunity ripple outward feels like balm. You volunteer weekends teaching business storytelling to teen girls who devour it like summer fruit. Each time a shy voice finds confidence, a corner of your own bruised heart braces up. One rainy Tuesday, your mother texts, "Dinner tonight?" You drive over, find lasagna bubbling, her cardigan again buttoned wrong. She pours tea and says, "I stayed 37 years with your father, different times." You nod, she adds, "I'm proud you knew when to leave." Tears well, shared, gentle. An intergenerational wound stitches a little. Late July, you and your sister finally cash that champagne IOU, popping corks on the cabin deck, fireflies blinking approval. She raises a glass. "To never settling for less than parity." You add, "To futures drafted in our own handwriting." The bubbles taste like cool stars. Night deepens. You step inside to record another voice memo. Settlement executed, money secure, kids adapting, job thrilling, friendships pruned and blooming. Am I happy? Not every minute. But grief now rides shotgun, not the wheel. You save it under mirror uncovered, noticing how many entries there are, each a stepping stone across a river you once feared would drown you. Before bed, you stand at the cabin's big picture window. Fog drifts over water, moonlight brushing ripples. You think of that courthouse hallway and the stamp that severed 2 lives. It didn't mark an ending, it punched open a doorway. You whisper, aftermath isn't ashes, it's soil. And somewhere beyond the tree line, owls echo agreement. Dawn spills gold through the curtains, soft and forgiving. You wake, the kind of tired that's settled deep. Healing's footprint, not its absence. The last steps of this journey feel less like climbing a mountain and more like learning to walk barefoot again, slowly, savoring each touch of earth. Today, you visit the lake cabin alone. The house breathes quietly, sun casting prisms through stained glass. You wander through rooms that once felt heavy with shared memories, now light with possibility. On the kitchen counter, a small pile of mail waits. Bills, a card from the kids' school, a letter with your name in a neat, unfamiliar script. Inside is a note from your husband. I hope this finds you well. I'm grateful we reached peace. The $700 million wasn't just numbers, it was our story, complicated but real. I want you to know. In the end, I hope you find joy, not because of what's been lost, but because of what you choose to build. Be brave, be kind, be you. You fold the letter slowly. Gratitude blooms, unbidden and unexpected. The man who once seemed a locked box now opens a little, offering this. Maybe a final bridge, maybe a gift of closure. You take a deep breath and step outside, feeling the warm breeze. The kids' laughter echoes faintly in your memory and your heart. You promise yourself, this chapter ends gently, but your story is far from over. Later, you join your children on the dock. The sun sets in a blaze of orange and lavender, and you watch the sky unfurl its quiet magic. You remind them, life isn't about avoiding storms, it's about learning how to dance in the rain. They smile, their hands warm in yours. That night, you sit by the fire pit with your sister and Mara. You toast to resilience, to new beginnings, to imperfect yet hopeful tomorrows. Your sister raises her glass. We all deserve peace, she says, and I see you're claiming yours. You smile, feeling the gentle weight of healing settle like a soft blanket. You pull out the journal labeled Next and write your first entry, not about endings, but about becoming. Ongoing debates about whether closure is a destination or a process swirl quietly, but you lean into the process, knowing it's messy, nonlinear, and profoundly human. This is your new normal, a life rebuilt with intention, courage, and love, not just surviving, but thriving. Word count 1014. Wind down. As the fire crackles low and the stars prick the night with silver light, you feel the quiet pulse of hope steady beneath your ribs. The worst did happen, but here you are still standing, still dreaming. It's okay to feel tired, to feel raw, to feel unsure. Every step forward is a victory. Every breath a reclaiming of yourself. Remember, healing is not a straight path. It curves, loops, and sometimes doubles back, but it always moves forward. Your story is uniquely yours, a mosaic of pain and triumph, loss and rediscovery. Don't rush it. Let it unfold gently, like the dawn after the longest night. And if the weight ever feels too much, know this, you don't have to carry it alone. There are hands ready to hold yours, voices ready to listen, hearts ready to understand. Community, connection, compassion, these are the bridges back to light. So when you feel ready, take that next step. Whether it's reaching out, saying yes to a new adventure, or simply allowing yourself a moment of peace. You are more resilient than you know, more loved than you realize.